Hi class. So today we're going to talk about what web design is. The idea of web design can mean very different things to different people. When everybody thinks of web design, a different thing comes to mind. You have certain people that think that web design is all about the visuals, creating what the website looks like, from the navigation to the image curation to creating the buttons and the icons. And there are other people out there that think web design is really all about the programming aspect of it. Building out the HTML, the PHP, styling with the CSS, and people consider that to be the designing of the website. There are other people that think about user experience and user interface as a web designer. Someone that thinks about what the architecture of the site actually is, how the pieces are put together, and how people will be interacting with that site from a usability standpoint. But the truth is, depending on the project, web design is actually a combination of all of these different areas. So it's truly a multidisciplinary skill and field that people work in. There are four primary aspects that we're going to talk about today in relationship to web design. The first one is about content. Now, most websites out there are really built around content, and that's what people are going to websites for, to gain information and insight. So the main point behind this is that content is used to inform or persuade users. Whether it's someone coming to a site like this, CNN, to get the latest news, or the purpose of the site is to persuade people to find a restaurant that they want to eat to, the content really needs to be tailored to what people want to use the site for. The next is technology. So technology in web design really talks to the function of the site. So here we have Facebook, and the core functionality of a site like Facebook is to instigate interaction and social connections between people. So the technology behind this site really pushes people to share what they're doing, connect with others, find new information, and that's really the core of that piece in technology. Another area of web design that's really important is the visual aspect. So this provides form to the website. Here we have a portfolio website for a photographer, and the visual elements of this website really play to the strengths of what this content is about. You wouldn't want a lot of text or a lot of copy or other elements on a site that's dealing mostly with a person's portfolio or visual work, so you really want to make sure that the visuals really play to the form of the website and the content that it's providing. Finally are the economics. So what is the website supposed to do? Here we have a website, fab.com, and the main purpose of this website is to sell things. So you're looking at the functional aspect of the design, which is to get people to look at products that they may want to buy and to actually move through the process to actually purchasing them. So web design is very difficult to do. I personally believe that currently with technology like WordPress or Squarespace, people are able to use templates to design websites very easily. They're able to pay a certain amount of money or download templates, and they're able to just click a few buttons and create a website that took them no time at all, with any real thought about the form or functionality of what the website is going to do or be. And so because websites are everywhere, everybody's looking at them all the time, every day, people think that they must be easy to produce and easy to make, but the truth is the thought behind the web design process is actually really complicated and takes a lot of time to implement if you want to make sure that you do it right. So there are two different approaches that people can take in creating a website. And the first is a visual design first. Here people are not really thinking about the form or the function of how the website is going to work, but really just visualizing what the website is going to look like without thinking about how it's going to be made. There are certain problems with taking a visual design approach first. And the problem normally becomes is these websites are very image heavy. Normally there's a lot of assets in the site, so the sites sometimes take a very long time to load. Or other times, because the visual elements are so important, people will develop them in Flash, which has other complications, which we'll probably end up talking about a little bit more later on in the semester. The problem with Flash is that the websites can't be viewed on all types of browsers like mobile devices, and most websites that are built in Flash are not searchable by websites like Google. Most image-heavy sites are actually really great for portfolios, and so there is a place for these types of sites, but the problem is that they're not extremely flexible and they're difficult to update. So think about something like this. If they wanted to add another page to this website, because it's so built heavily around this center image, it's hard to think about where the other content could go. And so a lot of people try to move away from these types of sites because people want to update their sites constantly. And so you want to make sure that you're designing a flexible system. Another approach to web design is looking at the technology first instead of the visual design. So here we have Google Docs, and this is a Word doc in Google. And the focus really here is on the technology, right? Being able to create a Word document online, save it, and then go to another computer in another city and open up the document on a totally different computer and be able to leave off where you ended. So a lot of times there are these websites that are really focused heavily on functionality, and it really showcases what developers can do. But I really believe that there needs to be a harmonious collaboration between the two, right? We want websites that are not only technically savvy and serve really clear function, but that are also visual and beautiful and want you to use them. I'm really a believer about wanting to have an emotional experience when you're viewing a website. And if you can find that harmony between form and function, you're going to be able to really create some amazing experiences on the web. So when you think about web design, very rarely are you just going to dive in and start designing the site. You really need to think about what the web design process is and how you're going to move through that. So I think of this as a top-down approach where we start with the most important element, which is purpose. What is the purpose of this website and why is someone going to be using it? From there, once we define a purpose, we can think about the specification and how we want to implement that, right? So maybe we're thinking about something and the best way to do it is by creating a mobile website because we want someone to be able to use a banking site anywhere on the go. After we've defined the purpose and how we want to implement that purpose, we can then go through and design what that looks like. So we're not just jumping in and designing what it looks like, but we're thinking about what is the core purpose of this, where is it going to live, and then we can move into designing what that's going to look like. From there, we can then implement the design and build it using the technologies that would be most appropriate for that. Then we're going to actually go through a testing phase where we push out a beta site to X amount of users, get feedback based on that, and then it becomes an iterative process. So based on the feedback, we may now have to go back to the designing side of things and tweak things so that way those types of feedback are implemented into the design. And once the product has been tested over and over again and it's almost absolutely flawless, then we can push it live for the world to experience. So things to think about when you're designing a website is you are not the user. You are the designer. Now, generally, you know a lot more about this website than the user itself. You know all the pages in the website, you know how they link up, you may have the best computer with the biggest screen and really fast internet, but you have to accept that users may not have the same interests as you or the same technology as you. And what makes sense to you may not necessarily make sense to your users. Additionally, users are not designers. So if you're thinking about designing a website for a specific user, don't just go ask them, because they might not know what's realistic and what's actually being able to be produced. So users don't necessarily have a sophisticated understanding of what web mediums designers use, and just because a user has browsed a lot of websites, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can design one. So you always have to think from the point of view of the user, and then think about it from a designer's point of view. And there's a harmony in this about you want to design for the common user, but you need to make sure that you account for the differences among them. So here are two websites that are very targeted towards children. They're bright, they're colorful, there's lots of big images, but the design of them is very specifically targeted towards the demographic that they're marketing for. So the Barbie website is using pinks and purples and stars, whereas the G.I. Joe has a much darker color palette and a little bit more action and harder edges. So the design of it is catered towards very similar age groups from a visual point of view of how it's set up, but the specifics of the designs are really targeted towards the young girls and the young boys that they want to be buying those respective products. So great websites are really those that are truly useful to their users. Utility describes a site's functionality. The utility of a banking site is to check your account balance, to pay your bills, to get a credit card statement, and a site's functionality is really important, and that needs to be kept in mind when you're designing, because a user is going to go to a specific site to perform certain functionality that the website has certain utility that they want to take advantage of. Usability, on the other hand, describes the user's ability to manipulate the site's features to accomplish a goal. So the usability of a banking site is to maybe actually change which credit card you want to see the balance of, or download a list of all your credit card purchases, or with ease to contact a branch of your local bank. So here we have two very specific sites that are both looking at finding an apartment. The function and utility of both of these sites is the same, but the usability experience is very different here. On Craigslist, you are looking at the website from a list view, and you're trying to find out where these apartments are just by filtering through this way. Trulia, on the other hand, has a very different usability experience because the user is able to look at a map and the listings are on the side and they can see photos, and it's just a much different experience. So usable sites will be efficient, easy to learn, and help users accomplish their goals in a satisfactory and relatively error-free manner. So all in all, what is web design? So web design is a user-centered, multidisciplinary design pursuit that includes influences from visual arts, technology, and has content and purpose. Over the next semester, we're really going to look at creating this multidisciplinary design experience. We're going to look a lot at what the different features are that make up a website and how to craft emotional experiences that really instigate fantastic user experiences. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to do a lot of really great investigation and exploration over the next 15 weeks. And I hope you like this format of me presenting the content to you because I think that it creates a personal experience. And so feel free to ask any questions, post to the Canvas site, and I really look forward to working with you guys over the next semester. Okay, that's it. Bye.